Last week was my birthday. I turned 51 years old. And it was a different type of birthday for me. It was one that was just on a weekday, and what I thought was just going to be a normal day with very little fanfare turned into something different. I'm going to talk a little bit about the specifics of that on today's episode. But one of the things that was really just beautiful for me was, being that it was Wednesday, we had the lab group experience call that we do every Wednesday. And the last 15 minutes of that call was spent by the members of that group sharing their specific feelings about me as a person, as their coach, as somebody that has impacted their life, as a mentor. And as we went around the proverbial digital room and everybody shared something or an experience to which I had helped them with, some breakthrough, something, it was a very emotional thing for me to be celebrated and seen in that way. Knowing that that's the moment I want to start with today. Because in the whole process of my birthday and the celebration and the group call, something happened that I almost let slide right past me. By the way, welcome back to the lab. I'm your host, Bryce Prescott. And last week, among other things, we did talk about empathy and visualization, and the connection between those two skills is very similar, if not the same. But I also talked about not needing the approval of somebody who was never going to give me approval anyway. I led the episode with that story. Today, I want to talk about the other half of that same coin. It turns out that learning how to not need somebody's approval and learning how to actually receive somebody's love are as well the same skill. They're just pointed into different directions. So if you only ever learn one of those things, you're only halfway there. So again, like I said, last week was my birthday. It was a beautiful thing. I had that moment on the call with the lab members. I had so many great phone calls come to me from people that I adore, where they shared similar things. That evening, I got to spend it with my family, even though things are separated. We still have a great friendship, and she did some wonderful things to celebrate me, and I got to see my kids, and it was just a lovely, lovely day. And I went to bed that night with a heart full and just so thankful that it was what it was. But here's what I noticed in the middle of it. There was a second, maybe more than one, where my instinct was to do what I usually do, which is deflect. To make a joke, redirect attention, say something self-deprecating to release the pressure of being seen in that way. And instead, I caught myself and I just let it land. If somebody wanted to share a well-wish or a celebration or a celebratory idea with me, if somebody wanted to give me a gift, if they wanted to make me a big deal for a moment because it was my birthday, I let it happen. I actually let myself receive what people were giving me, were saying about me, and instead of managing it or deflecting it or editing it or minimizing it, I just received it. I wasn't concerned about trying to feel okay in this sort of middle space of like, I love the celebration, but I don't want to come across like too needy for it. Like, I just let it all happen. And something happened as I did that in that moment that I want to name precisely. Because it's not that it just felt nice. What happened is I felt my inner sense of who I am connect with the outer perception of who I am in real time, without any gap between them. Usually there's a gap. Usually there's this quiet negotiation that's happening where somebody says something generous about me, and a part of me is going, well, they don't know the whole thing, or that's nice of them to say. But this time I didn't do that. The gap had closed. What they saw and what I know to be true about myself and my value lined up. And that's rare, especially for me. And I know that's rare for others. We talk about it in the lab a lot, about this requirement to get comfortable with visibility, with being seen, having people think you're a big deal, and internally agreeing with them, realizing I am a big deal. I have earned this level of confidence by just myself, by being. Now, I want to connect this, though, directly to last week, because I don't think that these two episodes are actually that much different or separate. I think they're the same lesson in kind of a way, but they're coming from two different rooms. Last week, I told you about a guy from my past who had told me that my level of stupidity should be illegal. And the lesson there was that, great, he's a schmuck. I don't need this guy's approval. In essence, fuck him. But at the same time, I don't need him to like me. I don't need to like him. His opinion of me isn't data about me. If anything, it shows more about him than anything. But this week was a totally different kind of moment. People actually love me, telling me something about myself that I actually agree with, and then me letting it happen instead of deflecting it. Now, here's the bridge between both of those. They're the same skill. And both of them require you to know independently what's actually true about yourself. Because if you don't know that, then you can't do either one correctly. You either take the hater's opinion too seriously, or because you don't have your own ground to stand on, or you'll deflect the people who love you because letting it in feels like exposure, feels risky, and instead of a form of confirmation in a way. Not needing approval protects you from a false story. Being able to receive celebration lets in a true one. Same discernment, same inner work, just pointed in opposite directions. One keeps something out while the other lets something in. And most people are only ever taught to do the first one. Self-development culture loves this idea that you don't need anyone, that if it is to be, it is up to me. It rarely teaches you how to actually receive somebody when they mean it, and then to let it be something that you actually enjoyed and cherish the celebration of another. You know, along those same lines, this past weekend, I watched the Bill Maher special where he was receiving the Mark Twain award for comedy. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't about Bill Maher. Like, your opinion of him is irrelevant, whether you like him or don't. I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm not a sycophant. Like, he's full of shit a lot, and he's great a lot of times. But that's not why this was entertaining and what I got and learned about watching his award show. What got me was that watching this person have friend after friend, colleague after colleague, peers, people who've known him for decades. They got up on stage, they stood up, and they told him exactly what he's meant to them, and to culture, to politics, to so many aspects of American life. They told personal stories where he had made a difference to them. They reviewed parts of his career. And what you saw was a man that was truly revered by the people close to him. Now, here's the thing about Bill Maher specifically that makes it interesting. That's a guy whose entire instinct, his soul, his whole professional identity is built on deflecting a joke. That's his reflex. Discomfort shows up, he cracks a line, everybody laughs, moment diffused. But in that room, watching people tell him that he mattered, you could see him choosing to accept it, to soften himself and to receive their love in a way that you don't normally see on his show. Now, not every second there were jokes, of course, but underneath it, you could see him actually taking it in, letting people who loved him tell him something true about his impact without needing to throw it back or minimize it or make it smaller. And that is what moved me as I watched it. It wasn't his career arc, which was impressive. His resume speaks for itself. He's truly an impactful person, whether or not you agree with him. I find him to be hilarious. I think he's funny as a comedian, even though he has a different style than others. But the whole thing was just about watching somebody else have willingness to receive from others that he made an impact. Now, here's the core lesson that I want to say. And I want to say this plainly because I think it gets skipped constantly in this sort of self-development, coaching, self-help world. Letting other people think you're as big of a deal as you think of yourself privately, that's not vanity. There's nothing wrong with that. Having a healthy sense of confidence, even a delusional sense of confidence, is required to actually go forth and create the life of your dreams. You have to be a little bit cuckoo to do that. And letting other people think of you as a big deal as well is a part of that. It's one of the rungs on the ladder in the climb upward. So think about it this way. If you've done real work, healing, growth, you've built something, you've become somebody different than what you used to be, at some point you're going to have to be willing to let that be witnessed and confirmed, and not just something that's private. If you can only ever affirm yourself in isolation and you flinch or deflect the second somebody else tries to confirm out loud who you are and what you are, that's actually a sign that the work that you've been doing isn't fully integrated yet. Because if it were fully yours, you would let somebody else see it without threatening anything. You wouldn't be attached to it, but you would appreciate it. You'd realize that's a great perspective. I appreciate they see me that way. It would matter. At the same time, it wouldn't. We treat self-sufficiency like it's the finish line. I don't need anybody. I validate myself. And look, that's true, and it's necessary, and it's most of what I've taught on this show, but it's not the whole architecture. Needing no one and receiving everyone are not opposites. They're both available to you once you've stopped performing for either outcome. Once you've got to the point where you're not chasing approval, but you're not flinching away from it either. It's an important distinction to understand that. Now, I want to say this next part clearly, because I don't want anyone walking away from this episode thinking I just gave you an excuse to be a narcissist or to think you're a bigger deal than you've earned. You're not trying to demand that the world worship you. That's not what I'm going for. That's not it. That's actually the exact failure that I want to rename. There's a version of this that tips into narcissism. And the difference isn't how much celebration you're willing to receive. The difference is what you do with the parts that aren't flattering. Here's the test. Can you receive love and celebration and also hear something true and uncomfortable about yourself without attacking the person who said it? Can you let somebody build you up and also let somebody hold you accountable without those two things fighting each other inside of you? Go back to last week's framework for a second. The accountability in 3 parts. Acknowledge the act, acknowledge the impact, don't repeat it. A narcissist wants the applause from this week's episode without ever doing the work from last week's episode. They want to be seen as a big deal. But the second somebody names an impact they've had that isn't flattering, it's a threat instead of information, and that's the tell. Somebody doing the real version of this can hold both. You can receive the "you changed my life" and "you hurt me" in the same relationship from the same people without needing to defend either one. The other tell is whether you still see the person celebrating you as a full, real human being, or whether they've quietly become a member of your audience. If people in your life start to feel like they exist to reflect back to you something about you in that way, that's the drift. Real receiving keeps the other person real with you and for you. Narcissism turns them into a different type of mirror, and it removes their humanity. They are just a usable part of life for your confidence. And that's not what we're going for. I want to tell a quick story about the difference of this. Early on in my comedy career, there was one of the fellow comedians I had made friends with. And this specific guy was really funny. But yet he was also an extremely tormented individual. It seems to be a theme in comedy that you get really funny people that are also tormented. Well, this guy at an open mic had a killer set. Nonstop laughs, was so funny. And at the end of the open mic, he and I were standing close to the door where everyone exits from. And he started to get people coming up to him saying, "Oh, bro, so good. Great set." And it became a lot of people. And about the 7th or 8th person, he started looking around and yelling the number next. So when the next person came up, 9th, 10th, as these people gave him compliments and told him he had a good set, his arrogance or insecurity, I should say, went through the roof. And he made it seem as if he was the coolest guy in the room and everybody was so lucky to be giving him compliments on how funny he was because he was so funny. I turned to my friend in disgust in the middle of this. And I go, "Hey, bro, act like you've been here before, please." It was actually really off-putting to see this level of arrogance / insecurity be right there front and center in front of people to which he genuinely had made laugh. These people were looking to personally connect with him as a result of him making them laugh. And he turned those people into just a usable commodity for his own ego. Now, the irony is that even now, to this day, as one of the funniest people that I know personally, his level of success is far lower than it could be because I'm pretty much guaranteeing that his ego has got in the way of things to which it didn't need to, based off of his own unwillingness to address those inner demons. Bringing this back to the other parts of what we've discussed here, my birthday celebration, the other stuff with Bill Maher, I want to be honest with you about where I still catch myself in both of these places. There are moments, even with the stuff going on with my birthday, where my first move was still the minimization. It was the joke, it was the deflection, before I caught it and then chose to accept. That instinct hasn't fully left me. It's still there. Now, on the other side, I know that there have been seasons in my life where I got closer to the narcissism line than I'd like to admit, where the celebration started to feel less like connection and more like fuel. I don't think either of those things make me a fraud for teaching this. I think it makes me somebody that's just like you, still working through the different aspects of both having confidence as well as the ability to receive celebration. I'd like to have you consider a challenge from me as you listen to this. I'm willing to bet that you could use being celebrated in your life more. One of the things we talked about last week in the lab, the group experience, was about each of us in that group are a big deal. We are actively in pursuit of our best. We are holding ourselves to a level of discipline and accountability that makes results happen quickly. Now, that alone, those decisions and those commitments, put us in a different place when it comes to our ability to make an impact in the world. And that by so doing, we have evidence that we're a big deal. Every member of the lab is a big deal. You, in your own right, are a big deal. I am a big deal. And knowing that, the next time somebody tries to celebrate you, genuinely, not flatter you or manipulate you, not with small talk, but with an actual real moment where somebody tells you what you mean to them and they want to celebrate you as somebody that has made an impact on their life, don't deflect it. Don't joke away from it. Don't minimize it back down to the size that feels safer. Just say, thank you, and let it sit there for a full 3 to 4 seconds before you move on to anything else. Just receive it. Let your inner sense of self know that you matter. And let the reality of what they said actually hit you. Let them know that you receive it as well. Have a connective moment with that person as they do their best to let you know you matter to them. That's it. That's the whole practice. Now, why this is so important to me and why I wanted to bridge these things together is when I look back at the last 50 years of my life, I would say that my inability to accept celebration created where I wasn't celebrated in ways to which I needed. And this wasn't the fault of the people around me in any means. It was my unwillingness to make my own feelings known and to say that, oh yeah, I'm fine with being celebrated. I would love that. And I would minimize it. See, that's the downfall of the flip side of this, is when you get to a place where you don't let people know you appreciate their celebration of you, they will stop celebrating you. They won't tell you that you're a big deal because it will be too risky for them because you won't receive it. That has an internal impact on you as an individual. Your ability to experience, design, and live the life that you fully want is directly connected to your ability to receive. It's directly connected to your ability to regulate your emotions, to live bigger, to handle more. And just like having a lot of money or a big business, so does the ability to be fully celebrated. I want you to imagine walking in to a conference room full of hundreds of people, and they are there specifically to celebrate you, to let you know you made a difference to them, to let the world know, I roll with this person. They are amazing. I'm riding and dying here. Let's go. I want you to consider what that would be like. Imagine yourself at the head of a table in front of hundreds of people that are there for you. Now, if that vision in your mind makes you feel uncomfortable, this is exactly what I'm talking about in the need for you to be able to learn to be celebrated and to receive. The resource of attention, or sometimes called fame, is a very powerful resource, but it comes with weight. If you do not have comfort for people to have eyeballs on you, it will sabotage the bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish. It's one of the things that oddly doesn't get talked about enough and is vitally important to the whole process of getting everything that you want. And most people talk about the negative aspects of that when it comes to the resource of attention, about having haters and dealing with your own villain era, etc. But if I've seen and learned anything from just the people that I know that are famous, from the things I've seen both in reality television and other aspects of art and performance, it's not the negativity that destroys people. It's their inability to understand how to handle the flattery, how to handle it, to have people that celebrate you and that really appreciate you. A lot of people cannot handle that. And so they minimize, they deflect, and they rob themselves of that moment of feeling really, really important. So just as it is true that if it is to be, it is up to me, it's also true that we have to allow others to celebrate us. And the other part of that truth is that when you do, and you're ready for it, it feels amazing. To have people that you care about reciprocate back to you that you matter to them as well, it's one of the most beautiful feelings in the world. Now, as I wrap this episode up, I want to extend that invitation to you. Allow the people in your life to celebrate you. Allow people to think you're a big deal. And if it's a hard thing, go inward and ask yourself, why don't I think I'm a big deal? And most of the time, what you will come up against is somebody else's story that was once told to you about how that's egotistical and arrogant and it doesn't help and that we have to be humble, which is quite honestly a misunderstanding of what actual humility is. One of the most humble things you can do is accept the celebration and praise from people to whom finds you a big deal. Now, if this landed for you, please share it with somebody. Post your thoughts about it. Tag me in it on Instagram, all of those things. Follow me on my socials, on my YouTube channel, on my TikTok. Let's have this conversation go forward. Let's celebrate each other. Let's spiral upward by allowing each of us to know what a big deal the other is. Go tell your friends and family that you love them. Go tell the people that have mattered to you that they matter. And allow yourself in that same thing a little bit of grace and look inward and see to yourself with that same level of appreciation. I'm in the middle of it. I'm doing it. And I like myself better for it. My friends, my name is Bryce Prescott. You're listening to The Lab, And like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time. I'll see you.